Hello again and welcome to another Particle Paintbrush HUD tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be incorporating the Wheel Motivator sub-HUD and so you can see these particles in motion. So in this case I've already generated a particle, and the particle is a radius of 3 from the emitter number 3, and it's pointing in this direction. So it's a single particle, but I'm emitting it several times per second, and it has a long age. So actually what you're seeing there is several particles all in the same spot. Now when you're talking to the wheel sub-HUD, the center button is not a toggle as it is on the emitter commander sub-HUD, because wheel commands can be sent to any of the emitters or the wheel itself. So it's usually a good idea when you're going to go into the wheel sub-HUD to first make your selection of targets for your commands on the emitter commander sub-HUD. In this case, I only want to send commands to the wheel sub-HUD, so I'm toggling everything off. So when I go into the wheel sub-HUD, then it only selects the central wheel so that I can send just it a command. And I'm going to send it a spin command. It defaults to spin when you get to that HUD, but we'll go ahead and choose it again, and we're going to choose true, and we're going to see this particle as it traces a circle around that spin vector. Now in this case the circle is circling around the z-axis, but we can easily change that by changing the axis of spin. So I'm going to reset the wheel, and then I'm going to spin it in a different direction. So we'll change the spin vector. Right now it's 001, which is the z direction, and we're going to change that to the x direction. So I'm going to turn that into 1, 0, 0. And now I've gone ahead and changed that vector. So now when I turn the spin on, we're going to get a circle that's facing us. I'll wait till the rest of the particles are gone, and here we go. Traces out a circle. Now another thing I can do is I'll reset that spinning again, and this time we're going to talk just to emitter 3. So we're going to change emitter 3 to have that same spin vector. It starts out with the z spin vector, but we're going to give it an x spin vector. So I'm going to change that to 1, 0, 0. Send that to it. And now we're just talking to emitter 3 and not the wheel. So we're going to turn its spin on, and we'll see that we get a circle. In this case it's spinning in the opposite direction, but that's just a matter of default settings. If I wanted to spin that in the same direction as the other one was spinning, then I could use a spin vector with a -x. So here's where it gets interesting. I can raise this emitter with relation to the wheel, and we get a different circle. We get the same circle a little bit higher. So now if I spin the wheel as well as the emitter, which is currently spinning, and again I want to check that wheel's spin vector because I reset. Okay, it's still at 1, 0. So when I spin the wheel, then I've got a circle tracing out in a circle, and that's where I get a pattern, and that pattern is dependent on the speeds and radiuses and vectors that we're spinning on. So if I change the speed of the spin of the wheel, we'll get a different pattern. Right now it's 6 revolutions per second, and it's tracing out that circle there. If I change this speed to 12, then we start getting a different pattern emerging. And this is what I call a 3D spirograph. And the speeds of both the emitter and the wheel will change what kind of pattern we get. So I'm going to go ahead now and change the speed of the emitter itself. And I'm going to make the speed of the emitter. Another way to change the direction it's going is by having a negative speed. So I'm going to go ahead and put a negative speed on this emitter of 2, minus 2, and we'll get a whole new different pattern. And if I increase that to a bigger number, then I'll get a different pattern. This time we'll give it a minus 15. Now, the Wheel Motivator sub-HUD has commands of speed, spin vector, raise, lower, hide and show, and a reset command, as well as a look at command, which is an advanced command we'll go into on another tutorial. But by changing all the different vectors for spin on the emitters and the wheel, and by changing all of the speeds and the radius, you can get quite some amazing patterns. And this is one I've never seen before, but there it is. And of course, different textures will give you different results as well. And to finish, we'll go ahead and show you a preset that utilizes many of these techniques. And this is a spirograph preset. And so let's see, we'll use the spirograph 1 preset because it's a bigger one. And you'll get to see a lot of different patterns all at once. Now, these spirographs generally have long ages on the textures, so they take a long time before the particle disappears, and that's why they can trace out these patterns. So in this case, I've got all of them spinning at different angles and different rates, creating a ball with all these different patterns coming out of it. And we'll go ahead and make the wheel visible. And turn off the emissions. And make the room white. You can get an idea of what it looks like with all the different emitters and all the different spin vectors spinning around with different relationships to the central wheel. And that is how all of these patterns get made. Go ahead and turn them back on, the emissions back on now. Or we'll just turn on one emission by turning them all off but one. Turn the room black again. And right there you see emitter 1 tracing out this pattern. And that concludes our tutorial on the Wheel Motivator sub-HUD. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.